This is the Victorinox Rescue tool in phosphorescent yellow. This is a really unique and, in my opinion, interesting multi-tool with perhaps some things that are not found in any other available multi-tool out there, which is why I wanted to talk about it briefly. We did a video the other day where we talked about choosing a multi-tool, and this Victorinox Rescue tool was in that video, though I did not talk about it, and it was a little bit of a miss. So I figured in my multi-tool series, if you will, this would be the first one I would talk about. If you want to see that video where we talk about choosing a multi-tool, I'll put a link in the description. But let's just get into the Rescue tool. First of all, the scales themselves are functional. They're glow in the dark, and this is something that I've seen missed in some of the other videos that have been done on the Rescue tool. So we'll show you an example of that now. So beyond that, let's just get into the main implements. Now, being considered a quote-unquote Swiss Army knife, this of course does have a main blade. I will point out that one unique feature of this is that the blade does lock. It is a locking blade, as you can see here. It's got a little liner lock here, if you will, that goes to the right to allow it to release. The blade does have serrations, though the Victorinox website has a weird name for that. They call it a wavy blade, I believe, which is kind of a wavy edge. But that can be useful in cutting ropes and perhaps seat belts. But the thing that's really kind of cool about this is that it does have a unique seatbelt cutting tool, as you see here. Now, by the way, I have never actually used any of these tools. I've had this for maybe 6 years, and I've never been in a situation where I've had to use these tools, and I am not a, EMS or emergency response individual, so I am not an expert on these things. And if you are, or in that field, I'd be really interested to know your opinion on this, because I'm just a guy doing a video on a Victorinox Rescue tool. So this is a seatbelt cutter tool, and it does look like it would be fairly useful. Belt cutter tool, strap cutter, lots of different names for it, but that is a very unique tool to the Victorinox Rescue tool. Another thing that makes this, I think, perhaps one of the most unique tools is that it has a glass cutter. They refer to this as a windshield saw on the actual Victorinox website. Other people call it a glass saw. It's considered, if you are to, take the opinions of other people out there that have talked about this, a consumable one-time use item, which is changeable. And that is the glass saw or windshield saw that's referred to on the Victorinox website. Now, I'll show you another unique feature that I really like about this tool in particular, and that is the screwdriver slash cap lifter slash wire stripper. But for me, what's really cool about this is that it locks. It's big, it's heavy duty compared to some of the other Victorinox flat style screwdrivers or cap lifters, but it also locks, which can be used for prying. I believe in the original Victorinox advertisement for this, they showed it actually prying a windshield, like underneath the rubber around the side. So I could see that as a useful prying. And I do a lot of prying myself. You could pry open paint cans, what have you. So that's a really cool tool in my opinion. Another thing too is a glass breaker. Now, I don't have a lot of experience breaking glass. I've broken glass with hammers, with sledgehammers. I've had to do rescue training in my time in the Air Force when I was stationed down at Herbert Field during the 16th Special Operations days. And so I've never actually broken glass with a glass cutter such as this. I also consider having to break glass underwater. It's a big consideration of mine, something that I think about a lot were I to be in an emergency situation and what type of scenarios would I be in where I'd have to egress or get out of a car. And I could see getting the momentum to break glass with this if I'm just, above water or on the street or what have you. But underwater, I don't know. Do your own research. Let me know what you think if you happen to be watching this down in the comments. It's just a big consideration for me, but it does have a glass breaker, and that is also replaceable. You can get replacement parts at the Victorinox website. See that right there? Swiss-made Victorinox. So, apart from that, on the back, we have a Phillips screwdriver, which, these can be useful, especially to get some torque in a T-handle type situation. Unfortunately, the 90-degree type of Phillips screwdriver doesn't lend to getting in certain areas and spaces, I found personally, through, quite frankly, decades of using Victorinox tools. Some come straight out, and some do the T configuration. The T configuration is limiting in my experience, but it's nice to have a Phillips or cross-style screwdriver, some people call it, to balance out the fact that it does have a flat style. And finally, we do have an let's see if I can get this out, which reamer, if you will. So some people call it an awl, some people call it a reamer, some people call it an awl/reamer. But I have actually drilled holes in logs and sticks and pieces of wood with these before. I personally have found them useful living in the woods in a survival or rescue situation. Not too sure I can imagine what that'd be used for. So apart from that, we will go ahead and mention that standard to most Victorinox scales that are not made out of aluminum or A-locks or wood, almost all of the solid door or plastic or polymer ones come with the tweezers on one side. So fairly useful, I found throughout the years for a multitude of reasons. And the toothpick, which I have used before. And to answer the question that I've heard some people talk about and criticize these online, that say they're gross, what do? Use it and stick it back in? No, I do not, sir. I actually sanitize it with some isopropyl alcohol or 190 proof ethanol because I have access to such alcoholic fluids, and so I sanitize it. So just to point it out, because Victorinox does, they do list the key ring and lanyard as being tools and or features of the overall rescue tool. And there's that. So apart from that, I did want to mention the pouch or carrying case is excellent on this. One of the best I have found from Victorinox, outside some of their leather ones, of course. As far as the actual Velcro kind of canvas style, this is one of the best. It's got a big old loop on it, very versatile. Can go, I mean, this could practically go over a big utility belt or something. There's some heft to it, right? It's got the coolness factor to it that it is a Victorinox. It's a Swiss Army knife, made famous by MacGyver in the 80s. That Richard Dean Anderson, or whatever his name is, the guy that played the original MacGyver, was seen in a volunteer rescue situation, not too long ago, carrying one of these just to drive it all home. So just to top it all off, I'll show you where I put this in my vehicle. So currently, this is the Jeep that I drive every day, and it just sits here in the center console. Now, one of the things I'd like to do is find a place to mount it just below the start engine stop. That way it's immediately accessible in an emergency situation. And just because I'm here, there's a couple things that I like to carry with me at all points in time. Just some actual temperature cut resistant gloves, a boonie hat because it's sunny in Florida, some safety glasses, the Victorinox Rescue tool, of course. And then I always try to have a fixed blade knife immediately accessible when I'm driving around town. And of course, I have my Cali sticks from martial arts training, Filipino martial arts, in case I need to hit somebody in the hands to make a point. That about wraps up all the points I wanted to make about the Victorinox Rescue tool. If you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Leave a comment down in the comment section to let me know if you think this would be a useful tool. If you've used the tool, I particularly want to hear from you. And that's it. Take care.